Australia is an amazing place to live, with many world-class outdoor spaces. However, ultraviolet or UV radiation from the sun is at levels that can cause damage to your skin throughout most of the year, even on cool or cloudy days. You can see the sun's light, you can feel the sun's heat, but you can't see or feel the sun's UV radiation, so it can be at damaging levels without you even knowing it. When the UV level is at 3 or above, it can dramatically increase your risk of skin damage and cancer. That's why quality shade is so important. Quality shade provides good protection from both UV directly from the sun and indirect UV, which is scattered in the atmosphere. It provides protection where it's needed, at the right time of the day, the right time of the year, and is attractive and practical. Considering Australia has amongst the highest rate of skin cancer in the world, a regulatory framework to mandate the provision of shade is long overdue.
Up until recently, shade was all about light and heat and how it performs in buildings. I'm Lara McIntosh. I'm a lecturer at Notre Dame. I'm a registered architect and I have a doctorate in architectural education. The main benefits of shade are protecting people from the sun and the different aspects of the sun, so it's not just the direct light but the diffuse light as well becomes really important. It's also about UV and protecting skin.
My name's Terry Slevin. I'm Chief Executive Officer of the Public Health Association of Australia. Ultimately, the provision of shade as a means of reducing skin cancer in Australia is a very simple proposition. That is, the more shade in our public buildings, even our private buildings, the greater the opportunity for West Australians to avoid exposure to excessive UV radiation. When it comes to means of preventing skin cancer, shade is an important, in fact vital ingredient. And one of the reasons it's vital is that it's the part of the environment that people don't have to think about. You don't have to remember to put your hat on, you don't have to remember to put your sunscreen on, but rather it's the part of the environment in which we all work and live.
My name's Peter Marie Ashford. I'm a Director and Principal Landscape Architect at Emerge Associates, but I also have the role of AILA National Vice President. When people want to stay in public open space, if they're feeling comfortable in their environment, so they're not too hot, it's not too windy, they feel protected, they stay longer. And if there's businesses in that area, then those businesses benefit from those people staying for longer periods of time. We feel strongly about green infrastructure and the fact that we feel that your mental health and well-being is deeply linked to being outdoors and outside enjoying those spaces.
From an architect's point of view, there are many things that we have to balance and many things we have to consider. Aesthetics is one of them. Also budget and the client's money. So I think those, along with other things about letting light in for the heat, but then stopping it because of the UV even in winter, can become tricky. The health of the users, not just the clients, but the health of anybody who might use building is important. So there's a fair bit of compromise.
Main benefits of shade is that it's always there. Obviously it has to be designed properly so that it's providing shade in the peak parts of UV around the middle of the day. But once you build it, it's there and it serves its purpose. Good quality shade also adds enormously to the amenity of buildings in the public realm. In the heat of summer it's cooler, and we've even seen studies showing that, for example, children's playgrounds get more frequent use if there's shade built into the design of them.
So you have the challenge of long-term maintenance of infrastructure, of our roads and our footpaths, versus actually the ability to place trees in streets to increase the shade and amenity, because I'm not simply interested in providing shade in public open space. I want to create shade along the streets that is the journey for people to get to the public open space. That's equally as important. I feel local government has a really key role in trying to help us increase shade in public open spaces, and I understand local governments have a lot of constraints in regard to maintenance and delivering of infrastructure. But we need to be thinking more about preventative health and the needs long-term in public open space. I would support legislation in regard to having minimum shade requirements in public open space. I think it is a mechanism to help break down some barriers that are impeding that actually occurring right now, and I believe our community would really value and welcome the option to have more shade to create a reason to stay in these spaces.
Legislation is really important because it sets a benchmark and a benchmark for a minimum. We can always exceed that, and I think architects as problem solvers are really useful in, are really used to exceeding the minimum, but having a minimum there sets a line, helps to guide the designs that we do. Social justice, I think it's about the shared responsibility that we have not only as designers but as users of space, and understanding the impact of the decisions that we make, not just now but often buildings last for a very long time.
People in the health sector can make the noise, but ultimately you're the people who can make the difference.
Think about a really hot day and you've gone down to City Beach foreshore and you've gone for your swim. If you look behind you on the grass banks and the foreshore where everybody sits on those coastal locations, and they're seeking trees and respite because they want to enjoy being out there and looking at the ocean and the coast, but they want to do it in a fashion where they feel comfortable, cool and protected from the sun.
There's a lot of public architecture, I think, where people are moving through space and have a right to be protected, I guess. And so thinking about it in that way, I think, just broadens the discussion. If it's seen as a global issue, not just something from Australia, then it helps to raise that awareness and also bring it into part of the toolkit that designers might consider when they're designing.
The entire building industry is built on codes, it's built on rules. So ultimately, if we're going to make this happen, it makes sense for me to be built into the rules. But until it is, just do it anyway, because it's a smart thing to do. Not just for your clients, but for the people you serve who'll be using that building in 5, 10, 20, 30, 50 years' time, and also benefit for their kids and the kids that follow.